jump in your boat. Row, 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 jump in your boat. Row, row, row. Here's your chance. Something's gonna happen and it could be good. 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 Woo! That was so exciting. What a rush that was. How exciting to have the whole chorus for the lead song. I am really excited about being here for show number 107, and I appreciate your support. If you want to send me some money through Venmo, leave $1 in the tip jar, or you could be a patron on Patreon. Or if you run across somebody and you know they're doing something you approve of, just hand them $1. Or walk up to a complete stranger and just hand them a $5 bill and see. You'd make their day. You might be entertaining. Anyway, please feel free to hand me 100. All right, we're going to start with Ingrid and Zion. Zion with a Y. And Ingrid.
Okay.
And I'm going to pass one of these over your way.
Okay. So
And if you'll put that between you two, and I'll put this between us two.
okay.
Wow.
I'll just grab my props here.
Yes. She brought some props.
I did.
I just brought a few props.
Okay.
Yay.
Hi, Laura.
Hello,
Yay.
Ingrid, and hello, Zion.
Hi.
I appreciate you all coming. What are we going to talk about first?
Well, I'd like to talk about, since we're almost to Tuesday and that's election day, I'd like to talk and give people some information about Gulfport. That Gulfport votes 100%. That's something that we've been doing for the last few years. And one of the things about that is that we use statistics to inspire people to vote. So the statistic and the number to beat this year is 82%. That is the number of people from Gulfport that turned out to vote in the last
Okay, say that again.
82%.
You just cut that on.
Yeah,
I mean, cut that on.
82%. Yeah, and the national average was 66.
Ooh,
So we
we're
are
above
way ahead.
average, above
So let's do
average.
even better
Yeah.
for the primaries or
Yeah.
for the general election this
And
year.
why do you care how many of us vote?
Well, our vote is our voice, and we have a chance to select our leaders, ideally. There's more about that, but we'll at least start with the idea that we can vote on really important referendum candidates and things that are important to us.
Yeah, but
They-
why do you care? Why
Why
do
do
you
I
care
care?
that other people? What if they vote against your guy?
You know, it's really about participation, and that's why I want to really shift over
Okay.
to talking about Gulfport on the Edge, because this is an event. There's actually
Gulfport
3
on
events.
the Edge.
Yes, and here's your invitation.
Oh,
This is
thank
everybody
you.
everybody who lives, loves, works in Gulfport is invited to these 3 free events that are happening. They are sponsored by Ward 1 Councilor April Thanos as her town halls. But
Wait. Ward 1 of the city of Gulfport.
Yes.
The representative is April.
is April, but this is for everybody in Gulfport. All counselors have an opportunity to do 4 town halls.
Okay.
And she's using her town hall privileges to offer this sort of town hall with a twist, which means different from having just a conversation between the counselor and the crowd. We will be sitting at tables with our neighbors and our friends and people who care about Gulfport and its future. So everybody's invited, and this is a facilitated process in that we'll have table hosts at each table, and we will have a focus for the conversation.
Okay, so if I'm interested in my community,
Yep.
what I can do I have to sign up in advance?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you very much. There's a registration. That way we know how
But
many
it's free.
It's free.
Oh, there's going to be
Well,
snacks?
there's gonna be
Ooh,
snacks.
snacks. There's going to be
A few snacks, yes, but we want to have enough for everybody.
Yes.
Website.
A website?
There's not where it's an Eventbrite event. So you go to Eventbrite to
Okay.
Gulfport on the Edge, and you will find it.
And
Yeah.
it will be at Gulfport
Casino.
So if I decide that I want to participate and get my voice heard in the community, I can sign up for this and show up, and then there'll be some tables. So am I going to be assigned a table?
Nope, you get to choose.
I get to choose.
You get to choose.
Oh, I get to choose whether or not to come, and then I get to choose.
Lots
which
of
table.
choice here. Yeah.
Well, what's going to be available?
So
to
the
choose
first,
from?
so the first event is really called Finding Common Ground, and so this is where we're crowdsourcing information from everybody that shows up.
That's willing to participate.
That's willing to participate. We can, and for the first one, we can only have 80 people. So sign up now so that you have a seat at the table.
Out of the 12,000 people that live in Gulfport, you better get on it.
Yeah, that's right. And so the topics are going to be, there's 5 topics. One is, what are the strengths of Gulfport? What do you love about Gulfport? So the people that are sitting at that table have lots of opportunities to share what they love about Gulfport. The second one is problems. What problems do you see? So if you're one of those people that can really picture and you're always
It's the dog
aware,
poo. It's the
yeah,
dog
it's all
poo.
that. You know, we've got 2 tables for you because
Oh,
people love to talk about problems.
No,
We actually have 2 tables for each of these.
Oh, okay.
And then for those that are a little more future focused and are looking at, well, there's some problems that are coming down the pike. I mean, we just had a near miss with Hurricane Ian, so we know that there's some threats out there. We want people that are kind of future focused and to start capturing the information that people see that are potential threats to this region, not just Gulfport. And then the last one is, what are the opportunities that we have here in Gulfport? No, it's not the last one. The last one, because we wanted to have tables for everybody, is uncertainties. So if you love to talk about uncertainties, we don't know what that conversation is going to be like. It's going to be really interesting.
I want to be at the uncertainty
Yeah, I think
table.
you'd be really good for uncertainties.
Yeah, I'm not certain, but it might be
Yeah.
good. Okay, so here I've signed up ahead of
Yeah,
time, and I've
yeah.
tumbled myself down there, and I have chosen the uncertainty table.
Okay. Yep.
And so am I going to sit there all by myself?
No. We'll have at least 8 people at the table and a table host. So it's sort of like a dinner party where you have a host that's going to be sure everybody gets a chance to speak, and we're going to use a talking object. This will be our talking object. So we'll have chances to. Do you want to hold it? You can hold it. We'll
The
also
way
have
this works, though, I think, is if I held it, I get to talk. That's the story with these talking objects, isn't it? And what it is as I say, and I will say until I'm done saying, or there could be a time, and then when I pass this, the person I pass it to can either talk or pass it to someone else. And then it gives everybody, if you're not a talker, you can just say, pass, I don't want to speak.
You've read the rules.
I made it up.
No, it's really true. That's true, and this way everybody gets a chance to speak. So let's let Zion speak. One of the things, I'll just set you up a little bit, Zion. Zion, because he has been really involved with the youth, we're really wanting, because the future is the youth will be living into the future. We really want the youth at the table. So Zion, speak about the youth.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Laura,
you.
for having me on, and thank you, Ingrid, for your leadership. And my name is Zion Crisante. I live in Gulfport with my family, and I have 3 daughters. So I am thinking a lot about what happens next. 10, 20 years. What kind of world will my children inherit? And so, practically speaking, I've been reaching out to other families that we already know and handing them the community conversation flyer, and just encouraging them that if you're talking in your little circles and you're disgruntled, or you want better signage at the park so that everyone knows there's no smoking at the playground or whatever it is, this is a place that we can speak to that in a way that might it captures
I want a
the
smoking
information.
section. I want a smoking section.
And it gives the people a chance to really feel heard. I know my wife recently had that exact experience where someone was smoking at the playground. She's like, I'm not sure this is allowed. I think there's an ordinance or something. Well, she called the Gulfport police, who would do a great job, but they had forgotten that there was an ordinance in the moment of the call, and they're like, I'm not sure. Well, now there's signage up. So even something like that, there will result. Maybe not everyone makes a call. So this is a great place to come out. And for the youth, our teens and our young adults who are in college.
Okay, excuse me, I know you're holding I know you're holding the ball. Don't you tire the ball for the show. But that's what, if you come to sit at this table, you will experience this concept. I know women have been doing it in circles for years, about passing a thing and getting a chance to speak when everybody else shuts the heck up. But now I'm going to keep interrupting, so I'm putting the proper
Ball
way.
down. Yeah.
Okay, let's say I am 13 years old and I want dances for teenagers. Can I come and sit at one of these tables? Do I have to be an adult to sit at the table?
May I answer that? You know, we'd love to have youth. The first event is really to capture what's going on now. So if somebody wanted teen dances or to go to teen dances, they may find out that the thing to do is to go to the rec center. You know, they may just in the course of the conversation find a solution to that.
But
they're welcome. They're welcome at the table, absolutely. If they're willing to sit for, and be part of all this, that's great. I'd love it.
Yeah. So you're 10 years old or 11 years old, and you want to come place at the table. You'll get a chance with that ball, and your voice will be heard just as well as my fabulous Laura Shepard voice, right?
Absolutely, and we'd love that. And more important, and just as important, we'd love their parents there. So one of the things that we want to have is the kids. There are roles actually for the kids in the second and third event to be greeters, to actually have a job to help produce.
Because there's going to be how many events total?
Three. And each one is different. Each one is at a different strategic altitude. The conversation is going to start with finding that common ground. What are our strengths, problems, opportunities, and threats?
And uncertainties.
And uncertainties, yes, thank you. And the next one will be about what are the trends and forces impacting this region. So we really want everybody at the table will be bringing an important perspective because they will be at tables that, in this case, will be focused on different areas. So it could be on housing, it could be on the economic climate, it could be on the environmental climate, it could be on any number of other topics. And we'll even have a few blanks. So if we haven't covered the waterfront, somebody can say, I really want to talk about the hospitality industry. Well, they can make up a table and see who comes.
Okay, so the idea of what I'm starting to feel is you really want people to take part and express themselves. So there's not an agenda like I'm putting on this conference and we're all going to go to the mall. It's not like
that. Well, there is
an
agenda. There is an agenda, and the conversations are going to be facilitated by the table hosts so that everybody gets a chance to give their input on the particular focus of that particular evening, as well as what the topic of the table is. So just to use the first one as an example, if somebody ends up that's really problem oriented and really is good at identifying problems and finds himself or herself at the strengths table, they may want to move so that they can actually have input into, we're talking about what are the problems here, because the people at the strengths table are going to be talking about all the things that are working in Gulfport.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
You self-select into these different...
Yeah, where you can make your contribution. And if somebody is in the midst of this feeling like, I just am not being able to contribute here, I'm not really getting anything from this conversation, they can quietly get up and find a place where they feel like they have more, can be more interactive. On the other hand, we don't want people moving around a lot, so that probably won't happen
Right, but
a lot.
it probably won't. People will probably, but you could end up at the wrong table and then then realize what's the right.
And they'll have options, so they'll have options like that.
So there are leaders for each of these tables, and
we call them table hosts.
We're going to get to you, Zion. You're a very patient guest. Isn't he a lovely part of this conversation? I feel like, but that's me sort of looking into it, and I'm like, wait a minute, we have Zion, hasn't said a word. But let me ask you one more question, which is, these so each table has a host that'll explain about the talking stick and prompt different activities. How are they being trained? Who are those people?
Well, we're training the hosts, and there's another role there, a recorder. So this is the person who will be collecting the ideas or being sure that the ideas that are being discussed are actually recorded, because the end game of this event, of all of these events really, is that we gather this information and then be able to curate it and bring it back and make it available to City Council, to the Merchants Chamber, to any group that's doing any kind of planning forward into this new reality that we're all dealing with. So they'll have the backdrop of this information that we've gathered from people that come to the events, as well as hopefully we'll be able to do a survey so that everybody has access to the questions that we'll be asking. And we can have something that's really substantial. We will not be doing the planning. That's really gonna be up to other groups that are really set
Right,
up
but
to do
just
that.
if nobody mentions having a skunk walk, there will never be a skunk walk.
Exactly, and
if
that's-
skunk walks is your thing, then bring it up at the meeting.
Yes, and that's
There
one
won't
of
be
the-
a bike club unless a biker shows up.
Exactly, and so what you're talking about is one of the other outputs, which is, well, we might call this a vocational dating service, meaning that people who have interests and passions
Mhm.
will be able to possibly find other people that want to do the same things that they do. So we
There's
don't have to
A
wait.
vocational dating service, I mean, this is from you married folks there.
We could do this.
Yes, thank you. Let's Zion,
Yeah.
okay, so you, how long have you lived in Gulfport?
So 1 year and a couple months technically, but 4 years just right up the road.
Right,
in the area.
and I ran into you at the Gulfport Food Forest,
Yeah.
which is an amazing thing that our town has, and somebody made it, if I go sit at the table that says our strengths, I will definitely put that.
Yes.
And speaking of the Food Forest, Kriya really it gives me goosebumps. She
Yeah.
has really given of herself to make that thing. It's amazing. You walk down that thing and there are butterflies and foods to eat hanging from the trees. Things like, do you know what this one is? This is that passion fruit from that local, it's a passion vine that is local, and there's a particular,
Oh.
does anybody out in the audience want to try
I've
one?
never seen this before.
Go ahead.
This is their passion fruits. They're not the greatest. We'll pass some out at the end of the show, but okay, so they're not the greatest, but and there's a particular butterfly that eats this particular passion vine. In any case, Kriya is having an event on the 12th. She's having a supper club at Red Feather Studio, and there's another thing that
Another
someone
thing.
could do. But that's where I met you. I think was at the Food Forest, and
Absolutely.
so you were bringing your family into Gulfport to participate in Gulfport culture, and somehow you and Ingrid met up. Where did you all meet up?
We met at a spiritual center, the Unity Church.
Okay, a
And
little churchy going on.
It's actually a perfect segue because my wife Emma and I always joke like we really love getting together, but sometimes a formal inside structure. You also want to be outside, and your kids sometimes don't want to be.
Now, what are the ages of your
So we call it
children?
nature.
Nature.
The
I like
nature,
that. Yeah.
you
How
know,
old are your children? Excuse me for interrupting.
14, 8, and 4.
And that, to go somewhere where a 14-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old can all sort of enjoy themselves, the Food Forest is one of those places.
Yeah.
The 14-year-old
Precisely.
can sit on the bench and the 8-year-old can do this and
Yeah.
whatever. Yes. Okay, carry on.
Well, and then, so I actually just wanted to show that this magazine, Gulfport Living, which is a newer publication, I'm writing now an article each month that I titled Renewable Neighborhoods, because in my heart,
Renewable
Yeah.
neighborhood.
yeah, my heart is for where we can find, just like in the garden, in the soil, like an area that's a little bit dusty or unkept, and you can bring it back to life. So where can we honor people who are already renewing our neighborhoods, and these community conversations are part of that. So I wrote about it, Gulfport on the Edge, in the
Nice
most
article.
recent article with our friends Leah and Damon and their family. There's a lot of different types of flavors of people and families in Gulfport, and to give everyone a chance to be celebrated. Well, the article I just wrote and handed in yesterday was about Kriya and the Food Forest, and kind of the point was 8 years it's been in the making,
It's
and now
amazing.
it's a new chapter which specifically our young people could take more ownership of, just in general, for the community conversations to really build momentum and then launch forward. The young people, they don't just want a voice, they want to kind of know where they belong.
Yeah.
Where could they put like a badge on or a vest and say, this is a place that I made a difference, and showcase that. So the Food Forest is a very practical place.
Your kids have been going there all the time. Do they feel some ownership to the place? Like they know everything. They
Oh,
know where
yeah.
all the fruits are at different times
They
of year.
basically can give a guided tour, and which is amazing, right? Because edible, medicinal, pollinator. It's beautifying. And I think that we all actually are hungriest for beauty, possibly more than anything in our life, because it gives us a sense of meaning and peace.
And what if I say to you, that food forest is messy. It's messy. There's all these weeds, flowers, it's messy. What do you say to that?
It's a beautiful mess.
I would say, come and help us weed.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
But I also want to point out just something that on all of these things, it's not a me thing, it's not a Zion thing, it's a we thing. There are 30 people that stepped up to help produce this event. So
Right.
we've got
How did we get those first 30 people?
I just put a shout out to people that were involved in Gulfport Votes 100%. Councilor April Vanos put a shout out to her friends and supporters, and almost 30 people showed up at the orientation, and other
Crazy.
people have climbed on to our little bandwagon here, and so it's really exciting. And we have roles for everybody. They don't have to be complicated, they don't have to do a lot of work or go to a lot of meetings, but they can certainly be involved in producing these
Now,
events.
How did the concept of even doing something like that transpire?
Well, this is something that I've done in my professional career. I've worked with leaders in government, healthcare, community groups, that sort of thing. And this is what we'll be doing in these 3 events are actually the early stages of strategic planning. What we won't be doing is the actual planning itself, because that'll be up to the groups that take this information and use it. But it's a crowdsourcing process, and I've done this with hundreds of people before, because it's such a useful way to gather a lot of information relatively quickly, have people connect and make the kind of connections that they want around their shared interests, and also to bring forward ideas and concerns that maybe the people that are making the decisions aren't fully aware of
Right,
yet.
they're not thinking
So,
about skunk.
so everybody, exactly, so people that are in the room have an amount of expertise that don't always get to the leaders of the city or of the, of the groups that they may be involved in, simply because not everybody wants to go and stand in front of, the leaders of the city. That
Right,
can
go
be
to
a pretty daunting thing
Right,
to
to
do.
go sign up to speak in front, because anybody can go speak at any city
Yes.
council meeting about skunks or any of your toy trains or anything you want.
Yeah,
You have to sign up.
and
for
it's
that.
good to do that.
Yeah, if you
It's
have
good
a-
to do that, or
But
at
this
least
is
tune in.
a better environment.
Well, this is a chance to sit and talk with 7 other people and share your ideas, and have it be focused and have it be respectful, and really to develop more listening skills as well as more strategic thinking skills. Too often when we are in conversations, the conversation immediately starts getting into the dog poop or the cracks in the sidewalk or, the problems, and that's not necessarily the most productive conversation.
Right, well, once you've said the dog poop needs to be dealt with, if you're not planning on how to, you can just move on to another topic.
Exactly.
So you heard about this Gulfport on the Edge through Ingrid, or somehow you heard about it, and you were just immediately like, I'm in.
Yeah, it's exciting because, like I said, a lot of times in conversations, and we all know this experience, you hear really good ideas or insights or concerns, and it touches your heart, and you want to be able to do something, and this is a very constructive way. It almost feels like, all right, family meeting.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
Okay, like let's sit down.
Bring all the golf portions.
Yeah.
Family meeting, love that.
Yeah. I really appreciate this idea that you could put yourself up, that anybody can come sit at the table in a relaxed way and get some snacks. Does anybody in the audience have
Get
anything
some
they're wanting to say? Okay, I thought I saw it. So you're coming from the perspective of you want family life in Gulfport, I presume, or do you
Yeah.
have a perspective? What's your slant? What's your bias? What is your bias, Zion?
I mean, definitely like what I mentioned earlier, just about cleanliness. When I stopped on Friday evening at the Gulfport Rec Center, which Gulfport Rec Center, we're
It's
so
amazing.
grateful for you. You
Yeah.
do so much for every generation. And
Shout out to the Gulfport Rec Center.
Yay! And
3
skate
days
park
a
and
week, 3 days a week. Sorry, I'm having laryngitis. Is teen night.
Yeah.
I I just
3
heard about
days a
that
week.
recently.
Like if
How
I
does
had that
teen night
growing
work?
up, that would have made such a difference.
Oh wait, how does that teen night work there? Do
You show up and sign in, and then they kind of
you show up like as a teenager, or do I have to have
Watch and take
how old do I have to be to sign myself in?
from who
think
I
you're
met, it was
past it.
middle school through high school.
So I could take my middle schooler, drop her off there, make sure she got signed in,
Yeah.
and know that they were fine inside until and from what time to what time?
6 to 9.
6 to 9.
So I spoke to these young ladies. The boys were
yeah, that's right.
playing
Ladies.
video games.
Yeah.
They're not as interested, but I know what that can be like.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, how about littering? I said, yeah, that's on a lot of our minds and hearts. And then the matchmaking would be, there's already a cleanup for the beach or Clam Bayou and then
Right.
there's the guy Brad who rides his bike around and he's always picking. And there's people who do that. So that would be great to connect those dots. Another young lady said, teacher salaries. We got to make sure our teacher. I said, wow, I didn't expect you to say that, but yeah, of course. And then
Right,
they're
bring
gonna-
it to the table. If somebody does not bring that conversation
Yes.
up, city council will not be talking about
Yeah,
it.
That's right.
because they're in the school, right?
Yes.
So they have that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, for them. I was listening to a program where they were trying to get a school board seat for a student on the school board. Why is there not a student on the school board? There you go. Boing.
Precisely.
Yeah. So I just want to just do a
Yes.
quick plug for the third event, because we've
Okay,
talked
yes.
about the first
First
one
one
being
is
Finding
Finding
Common
Common
Ground.
Ground.
The second one is on trends and forces impacting the region. The third one is we're going to go out to the year 2030 and look at Gulfport in the year 2030, which, by the way, is only 7 years away.
Close.
It's the year of the census. There's a lot going on, so we're going to go out to the future and create imagery and stories from the future to bring back and again lay the groundwork for the planning that hopefully will come out of this.
Do you happen to have any information on whether the last census in Gulfport was accurate? Because I was listening to the news and I was hearing that some parts of Florida were not accurate in their census.
Right, I think
We
that's,
don't know.
we don't
We don't
really
know.
know. We
I don't
don't really know. It's
I
really
don't
a matter of, this is where education, I know the League of Women Voters and other groups are really working hard to be sure that people aren't afraid to give their data. And there's reasons why
Right.
people choose
Wouldn't
not to.
and whatever, yeah.
And
So you don't have
I don't
you know
have
the
the numbers.
percentage of people that voted, but we don't know whether our census is correct. If anybody has
Correct.
any information on that, because that does make a difference. And come 2030, when they take the next census, Gulfport, if we want to benefit from the federal programs, we need to have a
head count.
proper head count. Well, that's
Yeah.
an interesting story.
Well, and I think that hopefully one of the outcomes of Gulfport on the Edge is that people will get to know each other because they'll find people at their table and they'll find out that they live just a few blocks away, or maybe they have something in common. And as the trust hopefully is built, familiarity, that people can then talk to each other about voting, about the census, about other things, that people are a little hesitant to do these things for any number of reasons because they'll have a trusted friend and a neighbor.
Right. And so we're sit around the table, and if I bring up my skunk park that I need to have, there's going to be, you said one
You'll
of the
actually
roles,
be writing
I will
it
write
down.
it
You'll
down.
write it down and we'll collect that, and then we'll be gathering everything that's written, sort it through, curate it, bring it together in such a way that it's readable, and then be able to publish this back out, hopefully on the city website and perhaps other publishing.
And then if I come to that website and I say, there's nothing on here about the skunk rescue, that's like that I wanted the skunk
we'll
park.
see how hopefully it'll
Hopefully
be
it'll be
additive.
good. Additive. We
yeah.
can add things to
Yeah.
it. Yes.
Yep, and hopefully your idea may launch other ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
And just because I feel like we need to take 7 acres in the city and turn it into a skunk refuge doesn't mean that that's what the city should be doing.
That's right.
But it is all right for me to express that.
Right, and other people may know about a skunk park that is just outside the city
Right,
limits
that
that
I
you
can
can
go
go and
to.
visit.
Yes. Okay, so Zion, how do you feel like we can give younger people a voice? Because first of all, us adults don't use our voices to vote, except 88% here in Gulfport, but we don't go to our city councils or do things like that. And certainly in schools, like for our children, that's not encouraged. You sit there and I will impart information to you. So how do we empower children?
From my own experience, working with youth that who have that curiosity and they have ideas they want to share, you provide a place. If you make a place that feels safe, it will happen, and that intention, it goes a long way. So this is why, one reason I felt excited about it, because there's a place, there's an orientation to that, there's a way to facilitate that's inclusive and welcoming. And so beyond that, I always think about roles, like what's my position or my part to play.
And what do
in
you call
the
yourself?
Gulfport Theater, you know, I'm just thinking of the youth, right? So Ingrid said like greeters, and they could be part of
There'll be some interactive things that the young people can do, and also in the pulling the information together, there's roles there. Zion and I have been doing some outreach to clubs and schools. He'll be speaking with the teen council, and this is a group of teenagers that are leaders in their community, and so hopefully they'll take this as a project that they'd like to be part of and get their friends involved in.
Excellent. So these kids, everyone's okay. So the first one,
November
kids,
14th.
everyone on November 14th.
Yep.
You sign up, you come, you join the table, you get your whatever it is you came there for
Instructions.
on
Yep.
a piece of paper. It gets posted. The next one comes, and
That's going to be January 30th,
Yes.
and that is will be the Trends and Forces, and then April 10th will be the year 2030, envisioning a vibrant future.
And I can come to one or all of the events.
Yep, hopefully all, but yes,
Hopefully
you can
all,
come.
but it-
You can come. They're all sort of self-contained and interesting, but they do build on each other if people want to come to more than one.
Right. So I won't be bored if I continue to
Not
come.
if you're there.
Well, moving on. Yeah, so I don't have to feel bad if I can't make it to one, or if
Yeah.
I come to one and then I realize I don't like it, I don't have to come to another one,
Right.
or I
Yeah.
could come to a third.
Yeah.
And right now we're limited to 80 people, but it could expand if there's
Future
interest.
ones we can have a couple 300.
Oh.
I mean, the casino can accommodate that many. We just wanted to use the first one as sort of our this is a more contained conversation, and to really get the word out. So if you want to come, sign up now, because we really want to keep it. We could probably stretch a little bit more if more than 80 people show up, but that's really where we're aiming right now. And then multiple hundreds in the future.
Yeah.
And do you feel like the city council that we have cares what you present?
I do. I do. I've had conversations with the city manager and with a few of the counselors, and I really think it's going to be up to us and how it gets presented back. That we'll have video and photographs and say, look, these are all the people that were sitting at the table, and hopefully the people that are there will represent the larger group. I mean, obviously 80 people is not the same as you said, 12,000 people.
Right.
But as much as possible, we want people from all over Gulfport doing lots of different things so that their voice and their perspectives are being represented. And I think if we frame it that way, then, and also that City Council can see that this is good information for planning forward. Frankly, the other...
It's more work for them, though, if they have to listen to us, isn't it? Or does it help them?
It should make it a whole lot easier.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that's going on is that succession planning. We know that not everybody's going to be running for office again, and or at least at some point they won't be running for office. Where is our leadership pipeline? So I'm hoping people like Zion and others who are looking, at being part of the community will come to roles, whether it's leadership of a group or of being part of city council or some other group, that they'll come better informed to their roles as leaders. So we're encouraging groups that have boards of directors to get their boards there. It's giving them free strategic planning,
Right.
support. So does it make more work for the city council? I think not. I think this is going to be very distilled, and they will have then information that will make their making policies and proposals and directives for the city staff to do things, I'll have more information than just an opinion, or the fact that they talked to a couple people in a restaurant.
Right.
And they said that there's a parking problem, or there's a this or that, you know, that they can really go in with a lot more information and say, this is an issue, or look how much people appreciate these things.
Yeah, because sometimes one loud voice can make something
Exactly.
seem like an issue when it isn't. Now, and Zion, can you speak to this? You were on the cover of this beautiful Gulfport Living. You and your family were on the cover once, and and when you get on the cover of a magazine and step up, some people aren't going to like what you're doing, and they're not going to like you, and they're going to wish you'd go away. And so, how do you speak to somebody who's afraid to come to the table, afraid to run for office, afraid to even agree to be on the cover of a magazine or have your opinion written down? How do you deal with, because there might be some negativity that comes your way if you insist that we need a skunk. I don't like to talk about the skunks. And the funny part is there's actually a skunk rescue in this
Oh,
county.
there
and
is.
There is, and I don't mean to insinuate that I will go the hedgehog fund. Okay, so what do you do? You know, that if all of a sudden I want the hedgehog fund and you want something for every student in the county, and all of a sudden I'm mad at you because you don't care about my hedgehog fund.
It's a great question. I mean, so when you were asking and kind of making some points, I thought a lot of us, because of our cultural kind of conditioning of somewhere out there, there's people who make all the decisions, and they either make our lives more difficult or they'll rescue us when we need help. A lot of us can feel kind of victim-minded at times, or disenfranchised or helpless. I know I felt that way. You just kind of end up feeling a little lost, like, well, what's my voice gonna make a difference? And, you know, across the board, even in our families, right? You know, it could be like the one child who's like, no one listens to me.
Yeah.
Well, I think the first thing to acknowledge is that it's normal, you know, and having a conversation, you know, just real briefly is, who doesn't have a challenge when they try to talk to a family member, when it's sensitive, or you have even passion, right? And someone's like, whoa, you know, this is a little too much. I'm not really interested in what you're talking about. But to have a safe place to talk about it, it has already happened where, for me and my family, if we, you know, step out a little bit, people go, oh, this isn't Gulfport, or it's not the way it used to be. And I'm okay with that. Thankfully, I invest in myself to love and accept who I am, so I'm less triggered or hurt by those judgments, because I truly know that we're all wrestling with those things. And I really feel like, as far as the future, like a model city to establish a series of conversations. And we know the way social, you know, kind of like our society works is, it'll happen the first time, it'll be a smaller turnout or a healthy turnout, and then people will see others went, oh, and it's like, oh, okay, now I can go too. And then by the third one, we should have some real momentum and turnout. And then, just as far as me, and I'll kind of leave it like this, I see everything through like nature and creativity. So at the Gulfport Food Forest, my intention, and I ran this through April Thanos, our kind of, you know, council member, and I checked with some others, and I checked with our Food Forest team, is that the intention is to have a Earth Day, Gulfport official inaugural Earth Day celebration. Yeah, I think it's April 22nd, and to celebrate these conversations. And on that day, the youth and the young adults and everyone is welcome. We're going to do a tree planting, pines for Pinellas County, and really, again, thinking in a wholesome way, how can we lead ourselves and also be a model, an example for others who are like, how do we get more turnout and involvement, right? So I'm grateful for the legacy that Ingrid and Berkeley and our community is already leaving. And then, you know, I'm excited to be part of that, because I have bigger dreams, and I want to
Dream on, brother.
Yeah.
Yay! Good. I really like. Okay, I want to give you a present. This is a sweet potato, and it will grow and either make sweet potatoes or something, and you can eat the leaves. That's for you.
Or it could be a bonsai.
Or it could be a
Ooh.
bonsai.
Yeah.
This is oh, I forgot to put water in there. No
Oh.
wonder it's like these were some flowers and a lucky bamboo for you.
Oh,
I
very
mean, I
nice.
can't
Thank
forget
you.
to put water in it. Here is this is this moringa,
Oh, yeah.
which you know of, and we'll let you get some. But you can eat these little buds. Do you eat the flower
Oh,
buds? Because you
yeah.
are what you eat. So you are flowers growing beautifully.
Thank you
and,
so much.
And here, if you guys want to taste a flower out that way, and before you go home, we'll send you with that and a little sweet potato vine that you can eat or plant.
Oh,
And
excellent.
so,
Well, Laura,
thank you.
One more
So
time.
really, what-
One more time. How do we find out about this
Okay,
event?
thank you. So you go to Eventbrite and look up Gulfport on the Edge and sign up. And yeah, it's on here, but I don't think you can see that, but just Gulfport on the Edge, or look up in Facebook, Gulfport on the Edge, and you can see it there. Please sign up, please join us. It's gonna be so much fun, and we'll be creating the future together.
Yay! The future is as beautiful as we make it. Thank you all so much for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Okay.
All right, yay!
Thank you,
That was so
Laura.
fun. What an interesting conversation. I appreciate you
thanks.
coming. Wow, aren't we an interesting city? We vote 88%. I think that's pretty interesting.
82%.
82.
82.
Yeah, it's going to be 88 now. I'm projecting.
I hope so, thank you.
All right, Lydia Marie, 80 pounds! Yay! Yay! I am so pleased to see you back in Gulfport.
Oh,
Yay.
I'm pleased to be here.
There was a
Thank you so
time when
much.
you lived here in Gulfport, and you actually you were my roommate for a while.
That's right.
6 years ago.
6 years.
And then you went off traveling around.
Yep. I went out west for a little bit. I was in Oregon working, and then I hit the road in a little car, and I traveled around Washington, California, Arizona, and I'm sure I'll be back someday.
I know you did some interesting things. You went to places like Slab City. Has anybody out there ever heard of Slab City? You're one person. Tell them what Slab City is, just quickly.
Oh, it's so hard to describe, but
Yeah.
it's like a place
Where was it?
you can camp in the Sonora Desert, if I'm saying that right. It's just south of Salton Sea, and it's in articles. People come in to take pictures and camp for free there, and there's a hostel.
It's an old army base that some renegades have taken over. It's wild.
It's
wild
wild
there.
out there.
It's wild out there. Slab City. That's a city with no round tables. Nobody's talking nothing. I just wanted to give you a little present. This is a really beautiful little thing.
Oh, my
Isn't that
goodness.
beautiful?
Look at that.
And I just wanted to give that to you. I know that you're on the move and have no room for anything, but you get that. That's my present
This
for
actually
you.
looks familiar to me.
Well,
I've seen that before.
it used to be in our kitchen when we lived together, and it's such a beautiful little thing. I think it's a French coin, and you make jewelry. So you were living here, working in a restaurant, whatever, and your dream was to get in your car and drive across, live in your car, and go to Slab City. And you did that.
Yeah, I did that. I pretty
And-
much did all the things that I want to do, and I continue to do that.
Yeah.
Which, what's wonderful about your place and your community outreach and all the people you interview here is you can make dreams happen, you know? And I actually worked on some of my artwork where we're standing now.
Yeah.
So
So
it's really cool to be here.
this is your artwork.
Yes, I will hold some up for the camera. I do inlay gemstones into antler, just to give you some reference here. This is a deer antler. This one's a bit old and crumbly, so I
It's
wouldn't
been
use that.
laying around outside, and it's deteriorating back to calcium for the soil because the deers lose their antlers every year. She doesn't go chop them off the deer, and if they lay outside, they turn into this sort of like a dog bone. They turn old,
Yes.
but when they're fresh and they're not deteriorated, they're more like that. And that's when you can carve, because you couldn't carve this. This would just turn into.
Right. So people bring me deer antlers all the time. It depends on what stage it's at and what I can use. And I found various gemstones in my journey, and hopefully someday I'll get to cut some cabs myself. Who knows?
Cut a cab. What's a cab?
So they call it cabernots, which is
Cabernots.
they're the gemstones you see in jewelry. They have like a flat side to them, and then the round front.
And so the flat side is the cabernet.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a flat back.
Now you've
Correct.
made all these bits of jewelry that you're wearing.
Yes.
And so, you became a bone carver. How and why?
Well, I met a traveler from my hometown, and I was just
How many
starry-eyed.
years ago was this?
Oh, many moons ago. Let's see, probably somewhere around eight years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just a couple years before I met you.
Yeah.
And she taught me this craft because she learned from another person. So the idea is that you pass on the teachings. And the original dude went by Jimmy Hornfeather. This is a feather that I made myself. We take cow horn and we take a file and carve it. I take the raw material itself and cut it up with a bandsaw and then use a bench grinder to shape it.
If anybody in town has a bandsaw she can borrow for, not take home, but she needs to
I
cut
could
some
borrow.
more antler. I don't know if you borrow the bandsaw or you bring your antler over and use it in that place. Whatever.
Either way.
Anyway,
Yeah.
she could use access to a bandsaw. Anybody out there that has one, get in touch.
Yes.
So you're talking this idea. I like the word you threw out. Somebody taught you. So there's a lineage in your mind, like you
Yeah.
care about. Because so here's this guy, and he's making feathers and selling them. Like, why would I teach you? Then you're going to sell them.
Right.
I'm not going to teach you. I'm going to be the only one that knows.
Right. And he thought, this is so cool, I need to share it.
See, the more it hadn't hurt him any, has it?
And then once he gets too tired of it, then he's got other people making them, and then no one needs to bother him.
So no, but this the feather. What was this fellow's name? Jimmy Hornfeather.
Yeah, I made this one myself, but
Yes.
this guy in the 80s, he was traveling around and struck a conversation with someone, and they gave him a little shard of bone as appreciation for his time and energy with them. And he found it in a junk drawer cleaning up later, and he thought, what am I going to do with this? So he decided to make some carvings into it. Other people decided it was awesome, and he ended up selling them to people. And it kind of creates an entrepreneurship for someone traveling on the road, you know, who might not have a storefront or something, and I can just hop into town, sell a few, and be on my way.
Right. So all these things are for sale. People can get in touch with you directly,
Yep.
or
I'll hold this up so the camera can kind of see the rest. This thing.
let's see.
So these, I don't know if the camera
I
can
don't
see
know,
that
yeah.
the tilt there, but we've got some
I'm not
feathers
tilt
here.
before they. I know those feathers are
They like
sweet.
to slide. And then I have this one too, if people want to see the other tray. Show you a couple
So yeah,
here.
they're totally different sort of. Yeah, the bone, the antler and bone. So some of it is the feathers are bone, and the stone inlaid ones are antler, cut cross section. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yep. This one I made here with the ammonite.
Yay! Isn't that beautiful?
Yep, so I take the antler and I cut it up, shape it, then I take a Dremel and I inlay the gemstone into it. And then the feathers, I kind of do the same idea. I cut it up with the saw, and then I take a triangle file to file it up.
To make these little details.
Mhm.
And so, like, if you're traveling, you could cut up a bunch of pieces ahead of time on somebody's bandsaw, and then you can travel with these pieces in a little file
Yes.
and make jewelry along the way.
Exactly.
So have you been selling jewelry this whole time?
On and off, yeah. I've sold them at little fairs and at festivals and things like that. And now that I'm in Florida, I know that there's a lot of festivals and fairs and things down here. So it's a lovely place to be making art.
And people can pay you directly through PayPal or something like that,
Yep,
correctly?
I've got PayPal and Venmo right now. You can find me on Facebook under Itty Bones.
Bones with a Z.
With a Z, yeah. I might change in the future, but for right now, that's the name. And if you don't have Facebook, feel free to pop me an email at lydiamarie503@yahoo.com.
All right, there you go. And so, what made you think that driving around and living in the back of your car was going to be better than working at the smoothie shack and living here?
That's a good question. Well, with the cost of living being a little high these days, I was kind of crunching numbers and what I can afford, and realized I'd be spending all my money on 4 walls in some little apartment, with sharing a wall with neighbors and things like that, which is fine if other people are into that. But I grew up with a yard to run around in. I kind of need the freedom to roam. So it gives me freedom to roam, and it gives me freedom to be my own boss with my artwork. So yeah, I guess I just see a lot of freedom in that.
And
for
are you
yourself.
not afraid? What do you mean? You just jumped in your car and drove to Slab City, where it's like the Wild West, people burning each other out and spray paint on them, you
Well, some of these stories,
Yeah,
are told
that's
over again and sensationalized. But yes, no, you're right. There's a lot of uncertainties out there when you hit the road, and I think the hardest part is the going. Because once you're there, you figure it out. But the ultimate is just making that decision and doing it.
And do you
going.
feel safe? Did you feel safe when you were sleeping in the back of your car in random places?
Most of the time I did, yeah. I've only had a couple hiccups. It's all about self-perseverance. If you have martial art skills or
Do you
anything,
have martial arts skills?
I don't. I like to learn.
She's got an itty bitty bone though.
I might make some crystal,
right? She gonna get to the kneecaps.
But
Okay,
yeah,
so you
just
tried.
having wits about
6?
yourself.
Was it 6 years you were living in your?
No,
traveling around, or-
I'd say I was kind of traveling on and off for 6 years, but
So you would travel someplace and rent
Work.
an apartment and work and get a job and
yes,
things like that. But then.
I'm kind of like an indoor-outdoor cat. So
Wow.
yeah, I would save up a little bit, and that gave me the funds to for my journey. So and now I'm in Florida, so I might eventually find a job here for a little bit and save up to continue traveling.
Right. What's the next place? I know you're here taking care of family business because you're an awesome person, and there was some family business that you are present for, and I'm so glad because I get to see you.
Yes.
And at some point, the family business will resolve itself.
yeah.
And then, do you have any? Well, and anything could happen by then. I mean, who knows? You could be on your way. But right now, if you were projecting, where might you take off to?
Oh, what's next?
What's
I
next
haven't
for a girl
even-
like you? Haven't
even
even
thought
gotten
of
there
it. Yeah, I love out west. I also am curious about other countries too. So
Like, how far ahead of you time do you plan your, like, a lot of people, before they go on a trip, it's 7 months out, and they know exactly where they're going to be sleeping every night,
Yeah.
7 months from now. What about, how far out do you plan your...
I'd say when I was traveling, it was kind of day to day.
What? You mean you don't know where you're spending the night tomorrow?
Right.
So you would just get in your car and drive someplace and not even, sometimes obviously you were going somewhere to visit someone, but...
Sometimes I won't even know where I'm parking my car that night,
Huh.
and I would just show up and.
And
find
what
a place.
sort of places did you sleep in?
All kinds. Sometimes fishermen docks. Sometimes Walmart parking lots. Although they're starting to wean back on that.
Yeah.
Travelers Refuge. Cracker Barrel parking lot sometimes as well. It's surprising. My favorite is rest stops because it's there to rest. There's bathrooms and everything that you
Right.
need. So.
And you were cooking meals on the side of the road?
Yeah, no. Sometimes if you were going grocery shopping or something, you might find a little Lydia flapping some, turning a burger in the car or something.
So yeah, you didn't have a van, you had a vehicle, so you would have to sort of
small.
set up your little fry pan outside, or could you do it inside, just inside?
I started outside and then I realized, why not just sit it on my passenger seat? So I would
so you
just-
built a little, or made it so that you could fry bacon on your passenger seat.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm really pleased that you're in town. Is there anything that anybody wants to say?
What was one of your favorite places?
Oh, yeah,
Besides Slabs.
Oh,
Yeah, besides, she didn't even say that was her favorite. That's just
Oh.
almost shocking. Not shocking.
I made some
Shock,
friends there.
Jock.
I'd say my favorite place as far as nature goes, I was very impressed with the redwoods. Yeah, I can still smell it. It's just-
And how long were you there? Did you stay there?
I just drove right through.
Oh, I see. Okay.
As a tourist, I just took pictures and drove through. But it would be wonderful to spend some time in that area for sure.
Okay,
Yeah, that
maybe
was
back
one.
out west when you get a chance. Okay, I think it's about time for a finishing song. You want to sing a little bit? Can you sing "Carry My Rain in a Bushel Basket"? Anybody else want to come up and sing "Carry My Rain
Just
in a
do
Bushel Basket"?
2 more. Go put on the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Give them your
Oh.
emails. Show them everything.
Lydia Marie, Itty, Bones with a Z. You can find her on Facebook. Gulfport on the Edge.
And that's on Facebook.
And that's on Facebook. All right, come on, y'all. Let's sing us out of here. I really appreciate everybody coming to be in the live audience, please donate to something, to someone, pass some love on. Just tell them they're doing a good job, if nothing else. Throw a quarter in somebody's guitar case or something. Do something. Come to the dang meeting. Do something. I don't care. Get in your car and drive. I don't know. There's a million things to do. I don't jump freight trains when they roll by. Don't like the blues, I'll tell you why. I go downtown when I want to smoke, and I'm treating life like a joke. I won't go sitting in my neighbor's yard, 'cause he's been working mighty hard. I go downtown, but I don't wear shoes. I don't sing the blues. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry the sunshine too. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, but let the sunshine through. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my rain in a bushel basket, but let the sunshine through. I won't get cross if you smile at me, and I'll throw my troubles out to sea. I don't wear black or need a heart attack, 'cause we could be happy. How about that? I don't think much about what could go wrong, and I don't want to sing about it in a song. And I'll look at you and shake my head. Lord knows there's some people that'd be better off dead. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my sunshine too. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, but let the sunshine through. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my rain in a bushel basket, let the sunshine through. I don't see Saturn when I look at the stars, but I know it's out there and so's Mars. I don't think much about the evening news, and I will not play the blues. I don't like ham, but I do like toast, and I certainly don't care who you hate the most. I don't care how it's always been done. Give in and just keep a little song. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry the sunshine too. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, but let the sunshine through. Carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my rain in a bushel basket, carry my rain in a bushel basket, let the sunshine through. You gotta let your sunshine through. Let your voice be heard at the polls, around the table, or on the streets. See you on November 20th.
All right.